Yo, what's good, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Four Corners Legacy Podcast. I'm your host, Valley Uno.
And I'm your host, Miss Mai.
Aisha, we already discussed the intro.
And
We
you the one
did.
doing it wrong, Negro. So get in line.
Supposed to go me, you, me.
It's clockwise.
Exactly.
Period.
So I'm next. And really, you just broke the live to do that? And I'm your host, Miss Mai 916.
And I'm your host, Diesel the Locomotive. My phrases need to be quoted.
How you doing, everybody? I'm Tusa.
Welcome to Four Corners Legacy Podcast. Happy Sunday, everybody.
Yes, happy
So how
Sunday.
y'all doing? How was the week?
It was okay. I was good. I was in Vegas.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's what's up.
Spent a little time with my dad's wife's family. It was their family reunion.
Okay. Family reunion.
And I want to give a special shout out today. Today is my granddaughter's 13th birthday. So shout out to my granddaughter, Nimani Love. She's 13 today. We're going to go finish our celebration. We went last night to a place called Big Air, and it had like rock climbing, jumping, some zip lining type of walking across some stuff, a bull riding. It was real fun. We had a great time. So today we're going to go out to dinner to keep the celebration going. So happy birthday, granddaughter.
Happy birthday, Nene.
Happy birthday, Nimani. I can't believe she's 13. That's crazy.
Right?
I was gonna say the same thing.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So
so what's
what
new
we
in
got- what we got
the
in the hot news, in the current affairs? What's cracking?
Well, if you guys want, I can go first. Let me see. So I had seen a story. It says white Florida woman who shot black mother called children the N-word and black slave arrest. I'm not sure if you guys followed the story. This woman was shot through the door by her neighbor when she went to go question the neighbor about breaking or throwing a skate at her kids, cussing at her kids. And the lady was upset because the kids were playing in her yard. I'm going to read some of the story just to give you guys the backstory on it. Okay, give me just a second.
Wow.
Okay.
Manslaughter only, huh?
Exactly. This is crazy. So I read this story on Baller Alert, so I want to give them credit from where the information came from, but it was on several news sites as well. A Florida woman who shot a black mother, called the children the N-word and black slave, was arrested. The white Florida woman who fatally shot a black neighbor for knocking on her door called the victim's children's racist names. The white woman's name was Susan Lorenz, and she's facing manslaughter charges for shooting through her door and killing Ajika Owens in Ocala, Florida. As more is being learned about the murder, it becomes clear that it was racially motivated. Lorenz admitted to law enforcement that she called Owens' children N-word. One of the kids also told authorities that Lorenz called them a black slave for playing too close to her rental home. The victim's children had been causing issues with her for about 2 years, she claimed. Since 2021, deputies have responded at least 6 times to the neighbors and her house for different incidents. The shooting has rocked the country, leaving questions surrounding Florida's stand your ground law. Though authorities have confirmed that the self-defense bill does not apply to this specific case. On June 2nd, the day of the shooting, Lorenz threw a pair of skates at the kids who were playing in a grassy area near her home. One of the skates hits Owens' child on the foot, resulting in the mother going to Lorenz's house to confront her. Once Owens knocked on the door, she was shot. One of Owens' kids was standing beside her, but was not harmed during the gunfire. She has since been released on bail, which was she had a bail set of $154,000. Of course, civil rights attorney Ben Crump is now representing the family. what's your guys' take on the story? I know me and Tamon had talked about it a little bit the other day.
Well, like it
I
said,
just
like it said in the report, that doesn't fall under stand your ground because somebody knocking on your door isn't a threat to your life. You know what I'm saying? So that's why they said in this case it didn't stand. It doesn't fall on the Florida stand your ground law. But yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean,
Very unfortunate.
these are the type of things you have to deal with neighbors, and I tell my baby about it all the time. All the time. I'm not never gonna be game goofy about none of these type of things because I know how motherfuckers act.
Well, and that's the thing. So in the discussion when I was doing a little bit of pregame with Valley and we had discussed the situation, first of all, I want to send prayers to her family. It's a loss of a mother. Now the children don't have a mom. So I feel that that's very, very sad. But one angle I hadn't thought about was brought to me by Valley. And he was just saying, when you go to knock on someone's door, prepare to kill or be killed. Because you never know. We live in a racist society where
Well, just rephrase it. If you go to knock on somebody's door and you're going there to confront them, is when you should expect the unexpected.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's what I was getting at when I made the statement.
Yeah. No, and I totally agree. I think that it's sad that you have to think like that because I don't know how many times I would have popped off, you know, being a young mother when my kids were younger, if they were playing outside and they came back and said, hey, somebody threw a skate at me or called me the N-word. I'm rushing out the door and I'm going over there and I'm knocking on the door and I'm going to say something. However, you had a good point to say, what makes me think that that woman is going to respect anything I had to say? She's already interacted with me in a negative way for past 2 years of going over there. Nothing good has been a result of it. So clearly she is a racist. We know racists don't mind killing Black people. So all that has to be taken into consideration.
And she's already gotten away with it because she's only been charged with manslaughter. So
basically,
at this point, it doesn't matter what happens. Manslaughter ain't going to fix her. Manslaughter ain't going to teach her a valid enough lesson for it to be justice.
Right.
Crazy.
Yeah. So that was kind of my thing with it right there. You know, I think the overall point I was trying to make when I had made my statement about it is that as people, we have to understand that if we take a confrontational stance on how to deal with situations that arise, then we are basically, in effect, through our actions, embracing whatever outcome that confrontation may bring, up to and including the loss of your own life. I'm gonna go over here and get this chick. I'm gonna go over here and get this fool. Well, we heard it all our lives. You got to bring ass to get ass. So as soon as you think you're going to get somebody, you done already put your ass on the line. This woman that threw a skate and hit your kid on the foot. How about we play the game the way the Cartwrights always played the game? I'm finna press charges on you. We need to stop looking at it as if, you know, we're our own self-imposed mafia and that we're going to take the law into our hands. Sometimes you got to just play the game the way they've always played it on us. Oh, you didn't hit my kid with a skate? Now you got to go see the judge because I'm calling the police.
She would have got more time for hitting the kid with the skate than shooting her through the door.
You
Probably. Probably. You know I mean? and sometimes there are instances where you do have to get people with the pen and the paper or, hit them in their pockets. There are other ways to go about it. And it took me a couple of days to really digest the conversation that we had because I was like, no, she should have the right to go over there and protect her kids. But at that point, the lady's clearly made several violations. You're not going to change her by anything that you say in the conversation. So another means has to be sought after. And so I get that. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Happy Sunday, Niche. I see you, Pam. I see you, Miko. Everybody, happy Sunday, and chime in on your thoughts.
And let's also leave this one on the table because it's like a fork in the road scenario is how you have to look at things. So the fork is the incident, right? And it's got 4 prongs on it. So it's just like Tavon was saying, I could go over here and confront this lady but there's a chance. One fork says that there's a chance that I'll get shot through the door and die and leave my kids.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing says that we'll be out here fighting in the middle of the street, or she'll feel threatened and call the cops on me and I could go to jail. Or there's, you know what I'm saying? All these scenarios are already in place for this bridge as soon as you jump on it.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Go to
true.
cross it. You know what I'm saying? And people tend to not think that. And that's why I always have, you notice, you guys have been around me long enough to know, I always will say I cross bridges before I even get to them. I got like a set up system. I already know what's going to happen. My fork is laid the fuck out already.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not playing games. I'm going to be in control of this motherfucking fork. So if somebody do this, this is what's happening. If somebody do that, this is what's happening. If somebody, you know what I'm saying? I'm not going for none of that variable shit.
You know, and then you got to take into account your own emotion at the time. Did you wait 15, 20, 30 minutes to catch your breath before you go knock on this person's door or ring the, you know, did you knock on the door? Did you bam on the door? You know, was you didn't come out? You didn't, we don't know.
Right.
There's no report on none of that. The only thing we know is that she knocked on the door.
Right.
You know, and those are the kind of things you got to think about. If you're not emotionally settled, then you shouldn't be trying to confront nobody about anything, even if it is worthy of confronting them. If your emotions are even almost elevated, that means your logic is now, you know, has taken a dive. So
Right.
how are you going to maneuver through this situation in a way that you can pick the right fork in the road, like Deez was talking about? And sometimes you may know that there's never going to come a point that my emotions are going to subside. So maybe I need to deal with this a different way.
Yeah.
Well, one of the comments on there, Unfaded put on there, she shot her through the door. So how was there a threat?
Well, they didn't use the stand your ground, so that doesn't even apply to this situation.
Right. And another thing is we don't get to determine what somebody is gonna do. Whether they see you as a threat or not may not even be the issue. The issue is they see you as a black person at their door.
But see,
Right.
it's just like Tavon said. She probably had the intentions of going over there and whooping her ass, to tell the truth.
Probably.
And
Probably.
my blackness ain't gonna allow me to exclude that. That's why I had the viewpoint I had from the gate, because there's a larger probability that there was a whole lot of aggression when she came through. And you say, oh, well, she's through the door. How is that a threat? We act like niggas ain't never seen a door get kicked in before. That, you
Right.
know?
Right.
So, I mean, we don't know.
Well, and
There's
I
certain
know how
elements
I
of the
would've been
story that
banging on
haven't
that
even
door.
been spoken on.
I know I would have been like, bitch, open the motherfucking door. You know, it probably was some hostile stuff going into it, because
Right.
you didn't call my child out their name, and you threw a skate at my child. So I'm not coming
Right.
over there with no Mary Poppins shit. You know what I mean? I'm going up.
Going to beat that case.
I hope she doesn't, and so that's my hope. With telling the story is that I hope
beat the civil aspect of it, but the criminal aspect, she's probably gonna beat that shit.
I can't see how, because
he shot through the door, though.
well, that doesn't necessarily mean anything, though. I mean, we don't know the particulars at this point. If somebody
If you think somebody's coming through your door, why wouldn't you shoot through the motherfucker?
You don't have to wait until they've intruded to shoot them. So
that's true.
I mean, the door don't mean nothing to me, because let somebody be at my door and they have convinced me that they're making an effort to come through it forcibly. I'm not waiting for the door to open.
Nope. Not at all.
You know what I mean?
And it's fucked up, because it probably would have been two motherfuckers laid out in front of the door if I was shooting through that motherfucker.
And that's so sad, because her child was standing next to her.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Because I would have unloaded on that door.
And this is something that I've mentioned before in a conversation when we were talking about, you know, conflict between, you know, blacks. We're not even talking about just, you know, dealing with racist people, but conflicts between quote unquote black people. Do we have conflict resolution skills set in place? Or are we automatically, ain't no motherfucker when you're talking to me, or you ain't sitting, I wish it would, you know, what's the default disposition? And more times than not, the default disposition with us is you know, I'll bust your head to the white meat. But we have to also consider that every human being has the right to say, shack, shack, no, you won't.
And
So,
furthermore,
You know what I mean?
always, I think that blacks are flawed in a way in confrontations because they always think that they're going to get this word in, you know, that they're going to set somebody straight verbally. And then if the verbal confrontation doesn't go the way they want, then it'll escalate to whatever. And sometimes it ain't nothing to talk about. You know what I'm saying? And I think that blacks lead in with this. The camera's rolling. This is my Oscar performance. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
always want to try to talk some shit or say some outlandish shit or say outrageous shit and show their ass and all this shit. You know what I'm saying?
and it didn't end well for this young woman, and now her kids are motherless. And so, again, I think that's the saddest part of it. Pam C put, these white people are reckless nowadays because they keep getting away with white on black killings. Now we have so many copycat killings, so crazy and so sad. I want to share with you something that her and I were talking about as well. And she was saying how she had agreed with Valley on his stance with just don't bring a knife to a gunfight. Be prepared, you know, that you know, they're killing us as a trophy. She had went to the ATM at her bank and was going inside, and somebody cut her off over a parking space, something to do with a parking space, either way, or she parked in the front. It was over a parking space. So the long and the short of it is the white man got out of his car, was talking hella reckless to her, crazy, vocal in a way, told her he would whoop her ass and all kinds of stuff. And here she is now scared at the ATM to even withdraw her money. Is he going to do something to her car? And so it's just a sign that all over the world, the people who are racist, the people who don't care, they are on 10 right now. So let's keep that in mind when we try to, you know, because first she was like, oh, fuck you. And then she said he was going in and he didn't care. And he skirted back around through the parking lot and was just ready for whatever. And she had to pipe down.
Because I'd be willing to, like, see me, I'm willing to go there. I'll kill you or you'll kill me. Let's see how that works out.
It's not good. That's not a good way for it to work out with murder on either person's behalf.
I think a lot of times, you can say a whole lot more to a person with your eyes than you could ever say with your mouth. You know, I'm a firm believer in telling you through my eyes.
Well, I know that works with kids. I know that works with kids.
This might be the last thing you ever do. So you better choose wisely.
Hey, look, shout out to Mama on that one. You know what I'm saying? Well, that look. You know the look.
I like I said, I know the look works with kids. I don't know how much it works with other people. But it does work. No, it does work.
Yeah. It works. So, you know, just to bring it full circle on that, one of the things that I had said in our conversation, Maya, when we were talking about it, is that, you know, when we go and approach a situation in that sort of manner, that we're effectively offering ourselves up for the sacrifice to whoever this individual is that's dead set on killing a person or killing a black person or whatever. Right. So if we look at it like that, we've got all these incidents to look at. The I can't think of his name, Aubrey.
Yeah, Ahmaud Arbery.
Ahmaud Arbery. You know, there was another father-son killing where they got into it with somebody on a traffic corner, and the dad, you know, jumped out with a shotty and killed the dude right there on the spot. We already know this is going on, so It's not enough to get on social media and be like, oh man, we Black Lives Matter and the hell with these racist people. And then after that person has lost their life at the hands of these folks, we go right back to living as if that threat doesn't exist. By doing that, we're really dishonoring the life and the loss of the life of that person that was killed by those type of people. The way we can honor them truly is to use our current life to make better decisions. You know what I mean? So that's true. How I feel about it.
No, that's absolutely true. And I think that's the beauty of the panel with four of us being on here. 4 different perspectives. Sometimes we all are in sync and we agree. Sometimes we're not. And I think that more people, you have to be able to talk your way through it and share how your opinion is, because you never know, it may change how someone acts. I'm hot-headed when it comes to shit like that. I'm hot-headed, but now I have a different perspective of it, because it could have very well easily been me getting shot through the door. There's no difference in me and her. You know, I'm a mother, I'm a grandmother, and so yeah, it's sad.
Mm-hmm.
And I just learned, you know, you guys know, I've learned with white people, they're gonna always dial 911. So unless it's like something that I'm ready to shoot cops in the face for and get shot up 100 times in the streets, and unless it's a situation like that, I just kind of like stray away from it, because like I said, I fuck it. I don't care how I come off. It'll go all the way down fucking with me. And that's why
Right.
What happens.
Well, and when you know that,
that'll make local news.
Because you know that about yourself, you steer away from it. And because now I know that I'm being conscious that it's like that for white people, now I'll move accordingly. Because before I don't feel like I was conscious, like, oh, they just gonna kill you on. People will kill you, and it could be the same. It could be the same scenario if I went and knocked on a black mother's door.
Right.
She could shoot me too.
Right. But this is the thing is, like Hatfields and McCoys, you know what I'm saying? They was fighting over one fence line, or I don't know, it's proverbial.
Something to that effect.
Something that, but the bottom line is neighborly disputes can particularly turn ugly. So if you got a neighbor where every time you turn on your stereo, the cops are showing up saying turn it down, or saying, if you got neighbors like that, you already know you got to tread lightly, because they looking for some sort of confrontation in the end. They want to see some sort of result happen to where they don't want you there, or they want you to move and all that shit. You get what I'm saying? And that's why I don't play them games. Like, y'all already know. I done my time fucking with neighbors.
Right. Right.
So I don't fuck with them. Neighbors piss me the fuck off. I stayed away from them. I don't say shit to them, because I already know how they looking at it. They just want to, if they want to try to provoke somebody, then dial 911. Then holy shit. I'm holy shit. He's killing me.
Lord. And on that note, we can move on along to the next current affair.
Well, I was trying to pull mine up. What is wrong with Blueface and Krishan? They are some dumb ass motherfuckers. That's all I gotta say.
Didn't he get arrested for something, or get charged with something else?
Taking a woman's phone.
So he was going to show up in court the other day for a court appearance on a different charge when he was arrested at entry of the court hearing on a whole different charge. Right now, I think that, you know, because they have this on and off again relationship, but right now I think they're on the off again stage. Prior to that, he was showing up with his his other baby mama, asking her to raise the child once CPS takes it from Krishan, and just being rude. He also did a video with other pregnant women in the video, just dissing Krishan. I don't know. We got one of the viewers, Unfaded One, said clout bait. What is it with the situation? Just pure ignorance.
That's what I think it is. I don't think it's no clout bait. I don't think that's a facade, an act, a front. They both some mentally unstable motherfuckers. Clearly, she's the more unstable one. But
okay, but do you say that she's? Go ahead.
I'm just saying, for him to have ever even been involved with that, it's an indication of his mental instability as well.
But I disagree on that part. I disagree on that part, because
as far as his mama out of pocket already. So but that's why he's accepting of a broken bitch, because he loved his mama so much that he accepted all that broken shit through.
Either he's suffering from baby boy syndrome and he still wants to be on his mama's titty, but they can't even get along.
That nigga's financing everything right now.
No, he's not suffering from no baby boy syndrome. I don't even know if that's a real thing. I think that's a way.
This is what I'm saying. His mom obviously made a lot of decisions prior to, and like you said, he is taking care of her. But my biggest thing is his mom. shows ignorance. She's just as ignorant as they are. So I don't think that she's, a good representation. I think that's where he got it from. I feel like since Chrisean has been pregnant, she has not been cutting up as much as she was before. So, and she's not drinking, she's not doing.
Yeah, I'm not talking about the cutting up. I'm talking about mental instability.
Well, and I'm talking about she came clearly from a broken home. She said they moved and they lived with several family members. They never really had. So she's coming from an environment where she might have had some trauma, but I feel like she's growing and evolving as a person.
But how come? Okay, you got plenty of people.
I do. She is, because she's not running around doing ignorant shit right now.
Crazy.
She's not doing ignorant shit. So I feel like she's growing. I don't give a shit.
You got people that slept on the floor with 12 of their cousins in a room
that don't act like her.
Exactly. And as soon as they get a chance or the opportunity to get out and change their circumstances, they straighten their shit up and fly right and make it happen.
Okay, and I feel like that's what she's doing.
Is more fortunate than everybody on the panel right now.
A lot of people. So to me, when I hear, what her story was and her upbringing, fuck your sob story. We all got one of them. I don't care.
Right,
you're just like the rest of us.
Are you guys being harsh to say that she is not growing and maturing on how she's handling things?
Here's what I'm saying. She's
not drinking when she's pregnant, so that's a sign of growth.
Right. Here's what I'm saying, though.
It's a sign of growth. Okay.
Exactly. If the only changes that she has made is because there is a child in her belly. I mean, come on now. And think about it. Here's another thing that I detect off the top, not just with y'all, but with other people when they talk about this. What happens is women have an undying, unrelenting alliance with other women.
And men have an undying, unrelenting.
Blueface is out of pocket. I'm gonna say Blueface is out of pocket.
Let me finish.
Yes.
When you were talking about Blueface, it was he's doing this and being rude and this, that, and the other. And then the only thing you had to say about her is her growth. So that is an indication of your perception when you're looking at the two. She's a woman. I have to find a way to be in alliance with her. When the reality is what I said from the gate. They both some mentally unstable motherfuckers.
Let me just pat my head is itching anyway.
I'm not gonna rock with Blue. Oh yeah, the young brother's trying to do, man, that nigga full of shit. I'm gonna keep it 100.
He came in the game on some wild shit. Blueface has had several brushes with the law. He's wild. He's with the shit. We know that about him. You know what I'm saying?
And he's disrespectful. But so is she. But she.
Okay, he's disrespectful to her. So he doesn't say, you know what, here, Chrisean, hold my dick and balls in your purse. Do whatever the fuck you want, and I'm still gonna show you the utmost respect.
Okay, but
that's not
when you say he's disrespectful. When you say he's disrespectful, in what way do you mean that though?
Because he's got other bitches.
He's disrespectful.
I'm asking the ones who said it. He's
disrespectful all the way around the board.
So the way he talks to her, treats her, like in what way do you mean?
Not just her.
So if you knew somebody,
if we can't elaborate on it, then we'll move on.
No,
because
let's move on.
If you knew somebody was a vegan, right? It doesn't matter. I'm still gonna. This still is relevant. It's still relevant. If you knew somebody was a vegan and didn't eat meat, and you came up to them and kept trying to feed them meat, and they kept saying, "Nah, man, I don't fuck with meat. I don't fuck with meat," and they stuck true to their veganism, are you gonna say that they're disrespectful?
No,
because they're not accepting your food. Blueface been an asshole. He been all fucked up. How he's fucked up. Chrisean come around trying to change the narrative and change all this shit around when the nigga been the way he been told her what it was probably a long time ago. There's no doubt. He ain't telling her, you know what, the only bitch on the planet I'm ever gonna sleep with. He ain't told her no shit like that. No. I guarantee it.
And that's why I was getting at, what do you mean like disrespectful? Because if you know what somebody's play is and then you go along with that play anyhow, when you get tired of it, it doesn't suddenly become disrespect. It just suddenly becomes time for you to walk away. And if you don't have the mental fortitude to do that, then the only person to blame is you.
Correct.
I mean, that's all I was saying. You know, it goes back to that conversation we had last week about self-esteem. Either you got some or you don't. We can't blame Blueface for her lack of self-esteem and her lack of self-motivation to walk away.
I don't follow either of them. I follow pages that always talk about them, so I don't really have a big. And as far as the music, I know Bust Down Tatiana, and you know, I'm not a big fan of either one, so I don't care either way. That's not one of my shows or people. They just often end up in the news, so. Also, I feel
in the end of the day,
feel like she's not chasing after him like she used to.
She doesn't have to. She's a celebrity now.
That's what I'm saying.
Because of him.
Right, but either way, move on. You got what you wanted. So
right.
Go ahead.
That's all she wanted in the end was to get famous for fucking a famous nigga. She got that several times.
Let me say this right now. If there's a famous person that I can fuck to get me the followers and the things that I need, I'm so sorry. I'm going to do it. You guys can be mad, and you guys
but
can
you
get
can't
all.
trash
I wouldn't be mad.
Shout out.
Don't turn around and bite the hand though.
I wouldn't be mad. You're missing the point. You're missing the point, man.
He's turning around and biting the hand.
The point is, if she did that and she got what she wanted from him, why does she have to drag his name through the mud in the process?
I don't feel like she's dragging him. That's the thing. Like right now,
why does she want everybody to hate him and him to lose his fame and her be the only famous one in the end?
Right. That's
so why does it have to be that way then?
That's what I was trying to get at when I wanted y'all to expound on the disrespect that you say.
And why does he have to be the one in the end that's the loser with the bad name?
But anyways, we can move on to a better topic. Again, shout out to Shannon Sharpe. I know you're single. You said you were going to take care of somebody and their whole family.
He's not single. He's with somebody.
He's not with anybody. He said he's not married. No, he's not.
That's what he just said.
He's fucking.
You gotta listen sometimes.
He's not married.
Said 3 times that he is OT married.
Not married, but he is definitely fucking somebody.
Oh, I don't. And shout out to her, but I just
he's definitely a Joe Camel looking motherfucker too.
He's not my type. He's not my type, but I'm ready to think outside the box. And just some of the conversation he was having about being single, I seen him talking about it with Shaq. I seen him talking about it with T.I. I seen him talking about it with somebody else that was on his show, and he didn't never say I'm in a committed relationship.
No, he just said that he regretted not getting married. He didn't never say he was single. He just said he regretted not getting married because he sees other people aligned with him that have things that he didn't want when he was young, that now he's like, damn, I could have built this when I was younger. And he realizes he's at an age now to where he can't build those things. You took the interview out of context and didn't understand what he was saying. He was just speaking.
Okay. Well, shout out to any single ballers out there that are watching the show. Again, I meant what I said. I'm not going to argue because it's like I said, Shannon Sharpe is not necessarily my type, but I'm just saying if what Krishan did was rude and wrong by fucking somebody and getting all these followers, so sorry. If it comes to that, just no. I'm going to take one for the team.
Right.
Okay, well, I'm sorry. But now, on to other topics.
Imagine if me and Tavon was sitting up here saying, I want to fuck J-Lo so I can be rich and famous.
Oh my God.
We're not even hey, look, time out. Because no, you already had your spew on it. We're not going to get into that because here's the thing. Here's what it comes down to. Whatever I or anybody else on here says about how they would move, how they do move, it's merely a reflection of them. I wouldn't give a damn, you know what I mean, if somebody had something to say about what I was going to do if I actually truly felt in my heart that that's what was the best scenario for me. If that's what you feel like is the best scenario for you, do your thing. But that does not mean that I'm going to agree with it, respect it, or anything else.
No,
That's all I'm saying.
I don't think it was
And
a
when the
call.
shoes on the other foot,
It wasn't a call for
make
any
me
of
the
that.
same courtesy.
Yeah, I definitely
Yeah.
and have and do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, did anybody else have another current affair that they wanted to discuss before we jump into the topic? Yes, no, maybe so. We can't get an audible answer.
We could just jump into the topic.
God,
Because
damn.
motherfuckers wasn't on Krishan's side. Fuck that gap toothless bitch.
Wow.
Hey, look, she can floss her teeth with a napkin.
And just
Right.
know
Fuck
that
that bitch.
I got dinner reservations in a little while. I'm not gonna hang out too long today, so we can move on to the next topic.
Okay, well,
Okay.
I'm delayed, so every time I say something, it's delayed.
We'll keep talking. We still value your input.
That's only on the visual, so it doesn't matter if
Okay.
you're delayed. We can hear you on time. It just don't look like it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Well, let's get on to our topic.
Okay. So the question is, aliens, do they exist? And if so, in what regard? You know, in what form do they exist, and have they existed? And what sort of impact does it have on mankind or the world, the universe, whatever? What's y'all take on it?
Well, I'll go first. I believe that they do exist, and I believe that they are walking amongst us as we speak right now, mixed in with humans.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that's where a lot of our intelligence has probably come from. The interactions with humans. The government is shiesty, and we don't know what they're doing with them.
Okay. So when you say they exist and they're walking amongst us, are you talking about like what we see in the films? You know,
No, they don't look like
bald
that.
head and the big eyes, or we're just talking about
they look just like us because they're able to
come from another place.
They look just like us because they're able to I believe transform into whatever or something. But I know that they're here.
Okay. So I'm gonna just go ahead and say, in general, I think that aliens are a real thing. I just don't think they exist in the way that is popularly accepted, like how we see in the movies and in cartoons and all that other stuff, the way they're depicted. I do not agree with that. When I speak of an alien, I'm simply talking about a life form that exists or that comes from someplace other than Earth. And when we think about the amount of different galaxies and planets that exist out there in the universe, it just would be rather foolish to think that we are the only people that exist in something so vast, in a system that's so vast.
Right, because if you have billions of galaxies just like our own or similar to our own, that means you would have a potential of billions of setups like we have.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
At best. So I agree with what you said. I don't think that it's like how everybody thinks they got scales on them and all that weird shit. But obviously with different gravitational pulls, just like if an astronaut goes up into space and stays in space long enough, they'll actually come back taller. You know, that's just part of the effects of space travel. You know what I'm saying? So that elongated look that they have and different things like that, those are all possibilities, but that doesn't mean that they aren't the same as us.
Right. That makes sense. Okay.
It's too much history.
So what about you, Mai?
I definitely think that there's the aliens do exist. I'm split down the middle on what they actually look like. I don't know. I would imagine that they don't look the same as us, but I am in agreement that they're not these big egg-shaped head aliens.
Mhm.
But I'm not saying that they're not either. Like I said, I'm split down the middle on what they would actually look like. But I just believe that if there's life here, that there's got to be life on other planets as well, and in the outer dimension. I don't know what's going on up there, but I believe that it does exist. It wouldn't, to me, it wouldn't make sense that all of this stuff that has taken place, these UFO sightings, these sightings of things that are not familiar to us. I
Mhm.
don't think that it would be going on for this many years. I feel like alien movies have become a thing that we've talked about. We've also talked about robots. We've talked about, so I feel like there is something that's going on that we're not fully knowledgeable of. So yes, to answer your question, I feel like they do exist.
Okay. And again, shout out to everybody in the chat. We appreciate y'all being here, and feel free to go ahead and throw your comments in on the subject matter, because it's enough for us to talk about what we think about it, but we really trying to get the ideas of the general public too. So feel free to
Shout
tap
out to
in.
all two of y'all.
It was a
And we jumped off the subject of Blueface and them.
No, it was dead before
no,
them. But,
it
anyway,
died. That's what
yeah.
killed it. That's what killed it.
No, it was dead before then. But anyway, that's that. You know, that's a whole nother subject. That ain't really why we here. So it's all good. But yeah, though, I think there's logical reason to believe or conclude that other life forms are here, have been here, visited, whatever the case may be. When we look through certain aspects of history, we see a certain level of advancement that did not match the particular era, and that advanced technology was only held by certain individuals or certain groups of individuals. And those individuals, through the art that they depicted on their walls and things like that, accredited that advancement to people that came from the skies or from the heavens or from the stars, or however they worded it. The reoccurring theme was that it was people that came from somewhere from above.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So in the, would you guys like to explain the pictures behind you guys right now?
Yeah. So I'll go ahead and, it's not really the best picture, but I think I might have something that kind of breaks it down a little bit better. Um, and why I chose that. So if you look at what's on the screen right here, uh, you have the Ankh, and inside of that is what's referred to as the Jed Pillar. And then this staff here is something that's called a Was Scepter. And some of the information that I have encountered in my own research is that this particular thing, the Jed Pillar Ankh, in connection with the Was Scepter, was something that possibly could have been used as a key to the Stargate. So basically, that each individual who possessed this, that it was coded. How can I say it? That it was encoded with their own DNA molecular structure. So only the individual that it was created for would be able to use this particular tool, for lack of a better term, to be able to move about from one realm to another. Now, that's not something that I can say is absolute fact, but the information that I've covered makes it seem that it's practical and it's worthy of continued research. And so that's the same setup that you see in the picture behind me, which is an individual referred to as Ptah, Ptah, and he has that Ankh, the Jed Pillar, along with the Was Scepter. And if you look into ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs and art, that's somebody that's going to be a reoccurring individual that's credited with knowledge, power, advancement, and all of that. And he has the same tool in his hand. So that's why selected the image you see that's behind me.
So would you say how does that fit into the alien concept?
Okay, so again, if we're looking at this being a key to the Stargate, okay, now we're talking about the traveling of realms, not just the dimensions within the world that we live in, but the traveling of realms from one planet to another.
Right.
It's said that this was the key that they used in order to make that possible. So
Nice.
clearly, anybody here on planet Earth that would have possessed that would have had to been given that level of knowledge and advancement from someone that was from another place whose civilization was far enough ahead to where having something like this is just as readily as us having a cell phone. You understand what I'm saying?
Right. So would your stance be that you agree then believe that there are people who are traveling, between times, or realms, as you say, and it is your belief that they look similar to us. That's an Egyptian person behind you. We know that they believed in mummification and, for that specific reason, right? So
yeah, I think that's something that is going on, has been going on, and that it's something that has never stopped. So yeah, and it just depends on how receptive you are to embracing an idea that differs from what we're popularly taught. I'll put it that way.
nice.
Mm-hmm.
And Dees, what about your background?
I'm not ready for that. You got 2 slides. Go ahead and run them.
Come on, Cletus.
Okay.
Let's to respond to our panel, the higher intellect as in Nikola Tesla. Nikola with Tesla, he's very smart. Many of our things that the Tesla car, he had many inventions in
Well, it sounds like
trunks,
you're having some
over
difficulty.
like 4 to 5
So
trunks.
the question was, does above mean
higher intellect?
Yeah, I think he was visited by them, maybe, possibly, or he was just hella smart. I don't know. He was hella smart. Hello?
It's a little bit of I don't know. I'm seeing
Tesla, he used to go to sleep and he used to see the some of his inventions in his sleep, and he would try his best to record what he's seen while he was sleeping when he woke up.
Valley,
yeah, he had like 5 trunks full of inventions.
Valley, you're frozen. Just FYI, I don't know if you are aware that you're frozen.
He doesn't know he's frozen.
Okay. There, yeah, he caught up. Okay, so just to move on, I'll go back a little bit. So I wanted to talk a little bit about Area 51. What is it and what goes on there? Area 51 is synonymous with tales of UFOs, government cover-ups, and potentially testing alien technology. It's located in Groom Lake in the middle of the barren desert in southern Nevada. Area 51 is a U.S. Air Force installation that has become infamous and speculated connection with identifying flying objects. Conspiracy theories surrounding the base suggest that it is for testing of alien technology recovered from supposed crash sites, like the infamous one in Roswell, New Mexico. This has been fueled by the fact that the base was a secret for many years and is still inaccessible to the general public. As a result, the innocuous-looking military installation has become an intrinsic part of modern mythology and urban legends of the 20th century, with a large influence in media and pop culture. But that acknowledgement doesn't mean that a visit to the base is advisable. Redford said that there are still legitimate government military reasons for keeping the base activities secret. The military classifies Area 51 as a military operating area. On the ground, you will encounter stern signs, armed guards patrolling the sensor cameras, guarded by buried motion sensor cameras, guards, and so on, plus signs warning that deadly force is authorized. Um, such signs tell visitors that phones aren't allowed and that trespassing on the property will result in a fine. So
there's a few places like that, though. There's a place in Utah. There's another place in California by Vandenberg Air Force Base. There's a few places in the desert. They're
right, and
lots
that's
of things.
that's a dead spot. I picked Area 51 based on the fact that it had been around for so long, and the history behind it. The fact that they said deadly force is allowed if you were trying. So what is it that they're hiding? Do we believe that they are testing things that have, a UFO being a unidentified flying object? And I'll go into my next slide in a second, but I wanted to stop it just with that one and talk to you guys a little bit about Area 51. What is your take on that? Do you believe that the United States is covering up what knowledge they do have in regards to the UFOs?
I believe
Absolutely.
I disagree, only because the 80,000 plus documents that were being held secret have been released to the public for public viewing many years back already. So it's just like anything else we look up on the internet. All that shit we thought they were hiding, we can simply look at the 80,000 documents and find out for ourselves right now.
Right. Well, 80,000 documents sounds like a lot to look through. Why not just open it up as a museum if it's nothing to hide?
Because it's just like when you're looking at information, it's an aspect of education, and it ain't for everybody. Just like everybody don't finish high school, everybody don't go to college. Those who are truly interested in it will make time to figure out what out of that 80,000 documents is of importance to them. So they could make a museum, but the information has still been released.
Well, they make museums about dinosaurs. They make museums about dinosaurs and things like that, and about all 50 states, you can go somewhere and see a dinosaur museum or learn about anthropology or things like that. So if they wanted us to know more about what it was in that specific sector, how come there's no training on it? How come there's no museums on that? Why is that?
Because they don't want us to know more.
The show is called Unsealed, and it basically covers all of the case files that it's 80,000 pages or whatever. So it covers 80,000 pages, and it basically tells what each one of those case files was, and it's called Unsealed.
Okay, so yeah, we'll have to look into that then. I'm gonna have to tap in.
So shows like the X-Files, which is not something that we watch now, but growing up, the X-Files was basically a show that talked about UFO sightings and aliens. It was a show that was on for years with information like that. Do you agree that some of the things that we see in technology would indicate that there is some more knowledge that's not being given to us?
I think there's more knowledge to be explored. What has been readily given to us, it seemed to be enough to hold people steady for an era in time. But I think we've moved into an era where, like I always say, we live in an age of information, and that information, when you get bits and pieces of it, it intensifies your appetite for more information. And so what would have held people down is, this many millions of years ago, dinosaurs were here and God created man, and now we're all here happily ever after. For a long enough period of time, that was sufficient for the average individual. And there's more and more people that are starting to realize that if I accept that as reality, I'm turning a blind eye to so many other things that are worthy of my attention. So I just think that's where we at with it, you know. Um, it's about what you want to know, what satisfies your appetite.
Well, I agree.
I can elaborate a little bit on what's in my background now, and basically, they found these in Iran, and so these were the things that these people carved on their walls, and basically, it's a depiction of Ahura Mazda, and I believe he was extraterrestrial. There's been accounts of him being up in whatever this was in the sky and shooting missiles that devastated whole armies all by himself, basically. You know what I'm saying? So um, this is part of the planetary wars that I believe took place on this planet. You know what I'm saying? And they obviously took him down. That's why we don't. He's not around anymore. He died, got old, died, went back to his planet. Whatever happened to him, he's no longer here, obviously. But this is clearly like they always try to make it seem like people of ancient civilizations didn't know, like they must have been mistaken on the things that they seen and transcribed into the walls because they didn't have a special effects equipment and video editing software to show you what was in their head. You know what I'm saying? To make it clear, but it's clear that he's on some sort of he's in something. You know what I'm saying? And the wings aspect of it is because what else could somebody of ancient times equate with flying when the only thing they seen flying was birds or bats or things of that nature flying around? But this man was clearly in some sort of machine. You know what I'm saying? And it had great capabilities and destructive capabilities. They say that he was the god of light and dark and anger and all that type of stuff like that because basically he killed people with that ship.
Well, all the ancient civilizations that were very advanced, there's a list of them, like the Mayans, the Olmecs, the land of Rant, Clovis. It's a few different ones. Easter Island, everything that I believe that they have visited, that civilization has been erased from existence. And I'm curious to why that is. I mean,
it's like I was just saying, that's the planetary wars that took place right here on Earth.
Yeah, because they
imagine like this, right? Let's say that right now we were able to go fly to another planet, right? And when we get to the other planet, it's fools from other planets at that planet trying to stake their claim on that planet.
Right.
Clearly, it's going to be just like what happened here, and we're going to be blowing their ass up on that planet, and they're going to be blowing our ass up on that planet, trying to take over that planet.
And conflict would definitely be a part of the situation, you know.
That's what took place here. You know what I'm saying? So what we have left, obviously, some of us are the people who were probably originally on this planet, but others are people that came from other planets to this planet.
So do you say
it's not by the mistake that these names that of things that are now here in the future are names from the past, like Minions was a civilization that was an ancient civilization that was advanced, that's now gone, and androids and avatars and hybrids, all that type of stuff. That
terminology is still in use, is what you're saying.
Yeah, and I think that's a reflection of people. I don't know. I think that's their way of paying homage to something discreetly. You know what I mean? Uh, they're
So
keeping it
you say
alive in
that
their
to
own
say,
way.
you know how they have the Android as a phone, right? It is a
Hmm.
form of technology. Are you saying that that is a way of paying homage by using the term Android?
Well, not necessarily. I mean, I guess it could be because an Android would be something that is the result of advanced technology. So, yeah, I guess you could say that. Hmm. And then not only that, it's a so if we break it down and we don't just say Android, we say it's a Samsung Galaxy. You understand
There
what I'm
you
saying?
have it.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
You say it's an Apple iPhone. Are they talking about the iHorus? Are they talking about the eye of the galaxy? Like is
Are
all
they
of this
talking about the
focused
third
on the
eye?
third eye? It's a lot of stuff that you could conclude just by breaking that down.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Hmm.
I mean, from what they're telling us, they want us to believe that it would be difficult to live on another planet, that you could not get out of the solar system and survive.
But that's what
But
they
yet
want us to believe.
the man has
All right.
walked. They want us to believe also that the man walked on the moon, right? So it is to me it's contradictory. There
They
has to
filmed
be.
that shit on Edwards Air Force Base. Yeah,
I
it
just
is
noticed.
contradictory though.
The
I
moon,
agree with
the moon is hollow. It's made out of some sort of metal because they shot a rocket at the moon, and when the rocket hit the moon, it rung like a bell. I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna put it in there. This actually happened because I know how black folks are. They don't believe black folks don't believe
you.
shit.
Well, and we ain't supposed to believe it. Information that is unheard of should come with a reference,
All
So
right.
Right.
yeah,
Well, okay. So
None of y'all ever heard about this, huh?
you can't
let's
assume
take
that
it
just
to.
because you heard of it that everybody else has. No, I have no clue what you're talking about.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
let's talk about the pyramids for a second. Let's talk about the pyramids and how they existed and how they were built before cranes were existed.
Okay.
So how would one build a pyramid if they did not possess a extraterrestrial quality or a unhuman like strength?
Well, they try
Hmm.
to say that it was moved with magnets or with stones, which that can't be the way because it's so precise and cut perfectly, and it's still cut perfectly, and it's aligned with the sun and different points of the different areas of the world. Man, that should.
Right. So how would it exist for all of these years and not deteriorate? Like we have buildings that deteriorate from direct sunlight. We have things that so how do those things exist in this day and age and have actually survived so many different weather zones, time zone, like
It's
how?
the natural stone that they're made out of. These buildings that you're talking about are made out of, things that are not going to hold up under the elements. But all these megalithic structures that we talk about in ancient times, they're made from natural stone that will hold up against all of that. So that's really how they continue to exist. That they're constructed of things that can weather the storm.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Hmm. I think another interesting aspect about the pyramids, I want to say it's the Great Pyramid, that the circumference of the bottom of that pyramid is mathematically aligned to the circumference of the planet Earth, and that also the what is it the speed at which the earth spins is also a part of the mathematical calculations in that structure as well. Then you take that into account that those pyramids are aligned with the stars of Orion's belt. um, there's just a lot of stuff that you have to consider and think that there's no way that some dude was just sitting up twiddling his thumbs and said, you know what, I think this will be a cool experiment. It's deeper than that. You know what I mean? And then
it's
when you say
definitely
that,
deeper than
the question comes, well, where did this knowledge, this information come from?
All the
Yeah.
slaves in the world wouldn't have been able to move what they move on some pebbles or with rope and 100,000 people pulling it. It still would have been damaged. It wouldn't have been able to be cut precision like that, and then lifted that high.
So
Yeah,
let's jump into the comments. Let's jump into the comment. Go ahead and answer, Valley. Go ahead. What you were saying?
No, I was just gonna say that's just somebody, that's bullshit. I don't even know how they would think that was the possible way. So which comments did you want to? Because it was a few that.
Yeah, there's a couple of comments. So we already covered the comment in regards to Nikola Tesla. I want to jump down a little bit. It says, if the sun resides in the vacuum of space, how is it possible for it to exist in that plane when it's missing a major component? Also, another comment. I'm just going to read these three. Who made the pyramids? Sarcastic face. How could the moon be hollow when, if you see it during the day, it is transparent and creates its own light?
Yeah. I don't know about the moon being hollow. I mean, I've never even thought along those lines, so I can't provide an answer for that. Who made the pyramids? I think that's what we're kind of unpacking right now.
Right.
And this one about the sun, I didn't know what he was talking about. How is it possible for it to exist in that plane when it's missing a major component? What plane are we talking about? I don't even know where.
I think he's talking about the vacuum of space is what he's saying. The vacuum of space.
Because there was a moment in time where my shit crashed and I might have missed something that was being said because I didn't even understand where that comment, what it was related to. That's why I didn't say nothing about it. Maybe y'all were talking about something and he was responding to that.
I know Jabal had made mention to, because I just had questioned. I have the solar system behind me. Okay, I have the solar system behind me, and I guess everything in the solar system feeds off of each other, to make the world go around, and how the solar system works. So maybe that's what he was talking about. If the sun resides in a vacuum of space, I'm not really sure. Vacuum indicates to me is pulling it in, I might not be the best one to try to explain that either.
Yeah, I didn't know what he meant, so I can't answer to it.
Yeah,
I'm not sure what he meant. One thing that I did figure out during some of this week's research, just watching different videos, how we refer to where we reside as the solar system. So the Gaia satellite that they put out in the outer space or whatever, that it has supposedly been able to chart that there's nearly 200 billion galaxies in the how do they say it? In the visible, the observable universe. So in those galaxies, I mean, when you take into account that number, we live in the Milky Way galaxy, and the planets in that galaxy orbit around the sun, i.e. solar system. This system of planets orbits around the sun, which is nothing more than a star that sits within our galaxy. You understand what I'm saying? So there could be all these other galaxies. All it would take is for a planetary system to orbit around a star in that galaxy, and it's another solar system. You see what I mean? So when you just think about that there's this many different galaxies that exist in the observable universe, who the hell are we to think that we're so special that it's only us? And that if we haven't figured it out, it hasn't been done.
So
Because that's all you're really saying. If
and-
you say aliens exist, that somebody on another planet somewhere figured out the shit that we've been trying to figure out. They beat us to it.
And who are we to say that all these other galaxies don't have any meaning? They're just galaxies like a rug on the floor, galaxies like a lamp in the corner. You know what I'm saying? They have no use at all. They're just there because they're there, and nothing's going on inside of them.
I don't know what this is about. I don't know who he's trying to comment on whose page.
And that's what I'm thinking, because I don't have my comments limited. I seen that comment now. So my comment,
it says it can't post comments to some destinations.
Where are y'all seeing that at?
I don't see that.
It says it can't post comments to some destinations.
Some destinations won't get comments. Okay, well,
But I've been seeing the ones from my page, so I don't know. So.
And the ones from my page are obviously showing up. So
On the podcast.
So, Erica Khan, he said, "How could the moon be hollow when if you see it during the day, it is transparent and creates its own light? It's not creating its own light. It's the reflection of the sun that you see during the day."
Okay.
They disposed of the V rockets on the moon, which means they were trying to get rid of these rockets that motherfuckers had created for the destruction of our own planet, and they shot them at the moon to get rid of them. And when those rockets hit the moon, that motherfucker sounded off like a bell.
So let me see where my shit is at. Hold up. I guess when I got kicked out, my
I still see. I don't know. That might be a different presentation.
because I sure don't see it. So maybe I gotta pull mine up again.
Well, we have had some sightings here in Sacramento.
Absolutely.
Recently.
Recently.
In March. I had saved it. I was trying to pull it up.
Well, let.
No, it's all good. I just was trying to get it back in here. I didn't.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't need to. I don't need to get into it right now. I just had to get it back in here because for some reason I couldn't find it. Go ahead, Sam.
I'm trying to pull it up, but of course.
Oh, okay.
Well, I did hear something about it, about the sightings that were actually in Sacramento. I recall that Ashanti was filming a movie in Sacramento, and they had seen these things shooting across the sky. Mm-hmm. I don't know what the backstory is to where they came from, what it meant, because I haven't researched that part of it, but I did research, and I guess I could add it to the stream now. And you guys could tell me what your take is on that. So a Las Vegas family called 911 after claiming they saw two aliens crash in their backyard. This story took place just the other day, maybe 3 days ago. And the audio won't play on it for whatever reason, so I can't. I don't know why it's not getting it. I'll put the link inside of the chat. But there was actually a family, a guy and his son were working on their car, and they said that a UFO, some kind of object, fell out the sky into their backyard, and that 2 8 to 10 foot tall creatures were in their backyard. They were calling 911 for help. At the same time that this was taking place, an officer was in the area not far from there, and he was saying he seen something fell out the sky. He didn't know where it landed, but he was asking people around, did you guys see what fell out the sky? His body cam actually caught that. Do you guys believe anything related to that story, because the video footage that they had, and I hate that it won't show up on here, but the video footage that they had showed some creatures that were alien such, and that were in the backyard of this guy's home. Do you guys believe that that type of story is just clickbait, or do you guys believe that that is something that truly can happen?
Well,
I would say just on that story in particular, because here's the way my mind is set up. Let some shit crash like that in my backyard, on my street, round the corner anyway. I'm going to make sure that I got video evidence of the shit that supposedly crashed. Fuck them people that got out of it.
Right, and I think that they had some, and that's
they did have, but it doesn't. It won't play the visual. It won't play the
video of it, and that's
Okay,
what I was trying. So in
put
my
the-
presentation,
put
But they got a
link to it in the
video of
comments.
everything else, though.
Put a link to it in the comments, 'cause I
Okay,
didn't see it.
listen. Google Earth satellite would have it on tape.
Yeah, but that doesn't necessarily.
okay, does that mean that they
it's
would share it
accessible.
with us though?
No.
So how? Okay, so if you're watching Google Earth real time and that shit happens, you ain't gonna see it.
Right. But if you're not watching it real time and you
Thank
go back
you.
to that time, will it still be accessible?
I don't know about that. See, that's what I'm saying. Like with black folks, I guess fuck it. They got the instant conspiracy going on. If something happens, hide it, hide it, hide it.
I mean, that's been the case with everything. Just like
Oh,
even those documents you were talking about earlier, they didn't release those to the public until decades after. So yes, they did hide it. I mean, we know that that's the process.
So I put this up here because before we argue or before we start throwing out all this stuff, I just wanted people to realize how old our modern structure is to this planet. And it dates back roughly 160 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
The way we look,
160,000.
160,000 years ago, we looked exactly how we look today. That's basically what this is saying.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So minus the 12 for the what do you say, 7,000 for the Bible, we still have 100 and 50 something years to account for of humanity.
Right.
Being on this planet. There's 150 years that are unaccounted for of our time as humans on this earth.
Mm-hmm.
So to think just because somebody wrote something in the Bible and it says, okay, this is when this happened and this is when this happened, but what about the 153,000 years before that happened? Let's talk about that. Because that's the shit I'm referring to. It's shit that can be actually, and some of it is actually, Sumerian stuff like that and all that stuff. That stuff is dating back, you know what I'm saying, 30, 40, 80,000, 90,000 years ago. They had people making record on this planet already.
right.
Building structures and shit like that. So there's no way I'm going to ignore that when I know that we've been around 160,000 years ago. You feel what I'm saying? And I'm going to take the word of a book, a Bible, or religion that basically tries to omit the fact that we're older than what we think we are.
Right. And then, you have certain things. Some of the people in line with the use of this Jed Pillar Ankh tool were referred to. I wish I could think of the guy's name right now. I don't want to say that it was Patah or somebody that came after him that possessed this same piece of equipment that was referred to as the Traveler, and that he was said to be able to, that they had the technology for him to be able to transfer his consciousness from one avatar body to another. When I say avatar body, I mean the physical body that human beings possess. And quite naturally, people would automatically write that off when they hear it until they come to understand that there's a coinciding aspect of that in the Bible when they said after Jesus was resurrected that he appeared to the disciples after his resurrection, but not in his own physical form. So that's the same concept, that there was a transferred consciousness that was able to interact with these people, these disciples, in order to identify himself, because his physical body was not the same as the one that they were used to. And that's kind of what I meant before when I said I think some of the stuff that we see in the Bible is used to describe a certain concept of information or technology or whatever you want to call it that predates the actual Bible time.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But
they have, like Diesel was saying, there's many artifacts that they have found that's predated way back, showing things that we are using right now, as in spaceships and or airplanes, or they just, like as Diesel has said, the only thing they seen that could fly was a bird, so that they depicted it as a bird. Okay.
Right.
But if you look closely, he has like a steering wheel, and it has legs on it, and all that stuff as well. So
probably landing gear.
So it was some sort of craft. There's no fucking doubt about it. You know what I'm saying? Like they were trying to depict him being on some sort of craft.
Yeah, the Mayas and the Incans and the Olmecs, they found artifacts of showing the same thing, with these little pendants that they had of a flying structure.
I was trying to add some stuff too, but I just sent it in the chat because Woon had sent me something also, and then I had the video that I was trying to play. But
everyone's opinion is formed off of a book. What book?
That's that Bible thumper shit. I'm calling
you out.
I'm calling you out. Don't be, you want to bust? Don't try to do it from behind the curtain. You know,
it's clearly some busting back going on. Is that what this is?
Oh shit. Yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw some other stuff up. I had scooted right to that initially, but I really want to go to some of this other shit where we're talking about different pieces of art from the Renaissance time period. And so it says in an interesting painting hung above the altar of Visoki, whoever, in a monastery in Cavoso, 2 UFOs are seen on both top corners. In the right corner UFO, the pilot seems to be looking back at the craft behind him. And so if you were to look this up, you can clearly see right here that there is an individual that is piloting this craft, for lack of a better term. And we got a similar thing going on right here. And so when these people during this time period were putting these paintings together, I just think it's interesting that they went out of their way. They made a concerted effort to add that kind of stuff, add that element into the artwork. To me, it's an indication of them having an understanding of things from times past. Mm-hmm. This is all supposed to be religious art, but we see that still kind of questionable thing. And that one didn't have no information on it, so I really won't stick too hard on that. But the Madonna with Saint Giovanni from the late 1400s. If you look here, this is her with the baby, whatever. But over here, there's some sort of craft in the sky, and the little man right there that's clearly taking notice of it. You understand what I'm saying? And then on the other side, just across from that, if you were able to get this and zoom into it, there's some other sort of object in the sky. So clearly it's nothing more than a painting, but whoever was alive in this time period, this conversation was obviously taking place. This
Right.
is not something new. It's not a result of YouTube, social media, any of that. In the history of mankind, dating back to the 1400s, this type of shit was being depicted in the Renaissance art. So clearly, it's something that people were aware of. I mean, it just goes on and on, you know. So that was something that I thought was of interest, because a lot of times people blame it on the times we live in, and they blame it on the internet. That shit didn't exist back then, and so who was they blaming it on then?
Yeah.
Somebody had knowledge of it a long
Well,
time
if they drew a picture of it, it came from somewhere. And it doesn't have to necessarily mean that it came from their imagination. They imagined a flying saucer like machine.
How did they have the capabilities to imagine it, because planes didn't exist?
Right. So I mean, I feel like if it's depicted in a picture, it came from somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They really seen that shit. That's where it came from.
Mm-hmm.
Just like if we seen something today, if I seen something outlandish today or something like that, and I went back in my room and drew a picture of the shit and presented it to the world, motherfuckers wouldn't be saying, I don't know what the fuck I saw. They take it at face value.
Well, there would still be people who would doubt it. You know, there's always going to be non-believers, or there's always going to be someone saying it's a conspiracy theory. There's always going to be someone saying something different.
So,
well, they have artifacts that they have found that they still don't know how they have depicted what they depict, that is of right now, that was found to come from way back then.
These are just a few pictures, basically.
Very nice.
These are these artifacts from times where no plane ever existed. And if you look at the layout of these, they don't have bird-like characteristics, because when you ever seen a bird with a tail that sticks straight up to stare them back and forth, or you get what I'm saying?
Or a cockpit.
Yeah, or a cockpit, basically. So all of these little plane type thingies, because they're not birds. Look at the tail. The tail throws the bird right off.
Yes.
Birds don't have those type of tails, the rudders and shit like that. They don't have that. So why is this sticking up, straight up, this back piece sticking straight up, if these were birds they were trying to emulate?
Diesel, pull up ancient artifacts that can't be explained, and then it's 12 most mysterious artifacts.
12 most mysterious artifacts?
Mm-hmm.
So that goes back to these, and these predate the Bible, basically, the stuff that I'm showing. And I'm not really taking it in on the Bible. I'm just saying, in order to believe in anything else besides what the Bible tells you, you have to understand that we existed before that.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's another thing that that I would say to take into consideration when you're analyzing all of this. You know what I mean? What's the actual timeline of human history versus the timeline of the Bible, and do they coincide? You know, do they correlate with one another?
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to really help somebody out here, but I can't get a straightforward answer. If you're watching Lonell Terrell, the question I'm asking you is, are you watching the live on my actual Valley Uno Facebook page or on somebody else's? Because
I couldn't figure out if it was on my page too.
Can't nobody else block the ability to comment on my page. That's why I don't understand. I mean, I'm really just trying to find out whose page you're watching it on.
Well, and
the
so
answer to the question.
So, because when I go to my Facebook, I can see the comments. It says, you know, yo, bro was trying. It says I can see that Kai was watching. I can see Pam's comments, so I can see comments on my page.
Okay, maybe you were trying to comment with some piece of information and it got blocked. I don't understand because everybody else seems to be able to comment. That's the part I'm not getting.
I see him too. I see his comments.
No, not Lawan. No, that's what I'm saying. I don't understand what's going on.
Whose comments?
Well, and so let me add this, that okay, it's funny that all of a sudden these kind of things happen when we're trying to transfer such important pieces of information. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah, I thought about that
And-
when I thought about that when the bottom fell out of my service. I just wasn't on the podcast
Exactly.
no more.
So,
I was like, what the hell going on?
I can't just pretend like that doesn't play a part in my mind. I'm not trying to be a big conspiracy theorist or anything like that, but I'm just saying, hey, I notice these type of things happen when it's important stuff that we're trying to share. Like when we were trying to talk about the Panther 21 and certain things wouldn't get added. It just seems like, and I don't know if it's Facebook that has these type of blocks up, if it's YouTube that has these type of blocks up, but we don't have blocks up like that. We want everybody to put their 10 cents in. We want to discuss this.
Yeah, absolutely. So
hey, Auntie Ned, we see you out there. Hey, Kai, I've seen you in the comments as well.
This is the only thing that I kind of get frustrated with the slides and shit here is because I don't feel like it gives a clear enough image of what I'm trying to show. You know what I mean? But because you can't see the timelines.
I'm removing mine from the studio, so to make room. Maybe that was something that was going on as well.
Yeah, so, the Oblikai Tempo or TP or however you say that is one of those ancient civilizations.
All right. So you got 10,000 BC,
right?
7,000 BC, 6,000 BC, 5,000 BC, 4,500 BC, 4,000 BC. It just keeps going down basically all the way to 2100.
Well,
if you are currently in the on the show right now, please put us a heart or a like, something, jump in the chat. We see you guys on here. We're just trying to maneuver through all the information.
Yeah, okay. So I see this here. I think giving them a name is not the same as explaining them. You know, just to go along with that comment that was just up there. I don't know who took it down, but it says the objects are already explained in the Bible. They are called flying. They call the flying objects chariots or clouds. That is not an explanation. It's simply calling it something. You know, that doesn't explain what it is or what its origins was.
So if we decided that we were going to call Letterman jackets something else besides Letterman jackets, would they actually not be Letterman jackets anymore?
I hear what you're saying. I'm just contesting what he's talking about.
They can't.
The Bible can't rename them because the Bible came after.
Right.
No, it's not. It's not a renaming. The title is it's a reflection of the era in which the shit is taking place, which is the number one reason why I put this up here. So Göbekli Tepe is called to be the world's oldest, big temple, and it was about 12,000 years ago that it was supposedly constructed. Now, if we were able to actually,
the Olmecs was the oldest.
No, this is what this information says. Let's stick to the script, please. So, because there's a point that I'm trying to make here. If you were able to actually look at this timeline here, when you get down, so the first one or the oldest one, Göbekli Tepe, is going to say that it's 10,000 BC. That's where the 12,000 year figure comes from. But if you come down to somewhere in the middle here, where you're looking at Egypt and then another place called the Malta sanctuaries in Malta, that's going to come in around 4,500 4400 BC. So according to according to the Bible, that would be the same time frame that man supposedly came into existence, because that's going to put you right around 6,500 years ago. And according to the biblical timeline, that is when man came into existence. But you have all these structures prior to that that were built by some sort of humanoid type of people. So it just to me, it just stands to reason that there needs to be a further investigation on when living creatures actually came to be on this planet, because it clearly wasn't 6,500 years ago. It was a lot longer than that.
It says it was larger than 12 football fields.
Mm-hmm.
So that's definitely megalithic.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And there's so many more. There's Stonehenge, there's Easter Island, there's all kind of stuff that, that falls into the category of man. Oh, he said he got some shit on tape. Look, hold on.
Well, and that's the thing. I think his comment, because I put that up there because it said I got some UFO shit on tape, not necessarily alien, just UFO. And again, if we keep intact with the UFO being an unidentified flying object, we have to know that that's possible. We have to know that there are other than airplanes up there. There's some other stuff going on.
Okay, well, I just had to put that up there so that he knows for sure that he's in the comments now.
Okay. Right. He was in there before. I don't know what happened. That's
no, I don't think he was. I think bro tagged him in it. That's all that happened. Okay. I don't necessarily think he was in here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, welcome.
Yeah. Shout out to the chat, everybody in the chat.
Yeah, I see everybody over here too.
Mm-hmm. Let me see. Oh yeah, I see what you were saying. It is a lot of slides in here.
I removed mine so that there would be some room.
Yeah. But yeah, though, about to see, that's why I knew that's what it was. You wasn't on my page. So about the what was it, man? Oh, Wound's comment about something being UFO, not necessarily alien.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of what it comes down to. If you see something and you don't know what it is it automatically something from another planet? And that's the question that we have to ask, because before it was revealed to the public, the stealth fighter was being test flighted somewhere. Before the government released the information about what that object was, it was flying in the skies. I mean, they had to test it somewhere. Somebody seen that, and it was considered at that point in time an unidentified flying object, but it was not manned by, or it wasn't piloted by an individual from another planet. So I agree with him on that. Sometimes you might see something and you don't know what it is. It could just be a test subject of what the government is working on. But the real question comes down to, is it something that was reverse engineered from an alien find? You see what I mean? Yeah.
Well, and that's why I think that the stuff falling out the sky in Vegas is highly possible, because we don't know what they're sending up every time they send something up. We don't know what it's shaped like. We don't know if they're, we only know what they show us.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, and he said, living in Vegas, I recorded a lot of flying stuff in the air, and they say it's SpaceX satellite. And that's the point. That's my point. Yeah.
What really is it?
We just don't know. But we have to know that something is going on, because there are places such as Area 51. There are testing that's going on. We know, how they say meteoroids fall out the sky. Then they'll say, oh, this is the one, what do they call it? Red moon. You'll never see another one of these in your lifetime. And then the next thing you know, 6 months later, they're saying, oh, it's time for a different type of moon. This is the, it's like, how do they figure all of that out? Why do they get to determine that I won't see this again in my lifetime?
Mm-hmm. See, and that's another thing I think that excuse me, that indicates that there have been people on Earth far longer than the whatever it is, 7,000 years. Because in order to be able to determine the different types of moons, or however that zodiacal procession takes place, which if I'm remembering correctly, I think it's that procession is something that takes place over a 24,000 year period. So in order for that to have ever been accurately and properly charted, people would have had to been watching that for at least a minimum of 24,000 years. So you know what I mean? Like, how do you know that unless you had time to do it?
So the significance of what you just said is important, because we know that they was carving that shit on walls over 30,000 years ago. So if the pyramids was aligned and they knew about the 13th planet, Nibiru, Planet X, whatever you want to call it, they had that also in their schematics back then, before we of modern technology even acknowledge Planet X or Nibiru.
So in the same places where that individual that's in your background is depicted on the walls in ancient Sumer, current day Iraq, the same places where you find those depictions, there is imagery of solar systems, planets, and that planet he's talking about is also included in the imagery that was carved on the wall from however many thousands of years ago.
I think it's like 80,000 years ago.
You know, so you just have to think, okay, they didn't have no satellites back then. You know, it wasn't NASA, you know, and all these other space groups that are analyzing stuff. So where did the information come from?
Right.
And how is it so accurate?
With a telescope.
Yeah, how is it so accurate? It must have been somebody that came from a different place that had already advanced to a degree to be able to understand this shit. That's the reason why I think aliens, not Martians and green people and all that,
right?
But that's the reason why I think they exist, because it's the only way to explain for a leap in intelligence and understanding and advancement, because it happened so rapidly. Where did it come from?
Well, yeah, before they even had technology to detect radar, they were already talking about radar, being able to do something with radar before the radar system had came out, and as advanced as it is. There's apparently, this was told to me by someone who worked with the government, that they were able to flip a quarter into the air, and the laser would be able to detect that quarter and burn that quarter, hit that quarter from wherever it was that laser was coming from. This is before radar came about. I'm trying to get him to tell me the place.
Okay, so the comment that's up there: we've been on the earth since the beginning. The Aboriginal people in the Australian region and some of the other places where these people that are referred to as Aborigines exist at, there have been people that have gone to them to observe their way of life, their way of worship, religious system, whatever you want to call it. And so when asking them, you know, where did they get their way of knowledge, all this, that, and the other, it came from the people who brought us here, and that they were brought here by people from the sky. You understand what I'm saying? And so with that being said, I was looking at something the other day on the internet with the dude Billy Carson, and his logic and reasoning was that life began on this planet as a result of people fleeing here from other planets as space refugees, for lack of a better term, due to wars that were being fought on other planets, and destruction was taking place. So flee. We're going to go down here to this planet that we know is inhabitable. And that would be his way of explaining that. I don't know how true or accurate that is, but I do think that's something that's worthy of further investigation, you know? Yeah. So we, being the black people, been here since the beginning, just because them Aborigines is black folks. So
Definitely. You can tell by the nose.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah. I don't know. There's just a whole lot of stuff to consider on this one. And I'm pretty much open to all of it, to at least give it a look. Whether I align with it's another question. Mm-hmm.
Well, it's just all strange, but it's not strange. It's just coincidental.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to eventually tell itself. We just got to hold on, because it's coming. The knowledge is going to come.
But they got people confused enough already to where they don't believe like fat meat is greasy type shit, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like right now, let's say the things that are happening now in the world and the way we see the planets and these spacecraft, I mean these spaceships that can actually go to space and all of these things. Let's say something happened, a catastrophic event took place on Earth right now and set us back to the Stone Age. You get what I'm saying? Basically, everything was destroyed and 90% of the inhabitants of Earth died and all that stuff happened, right? Right now, it basically would restart it. So if as time passed by, they would look at the things we look at right now as falsehoods. You get what I'm saying? We didn't really have that back then because of where we're at. They didn't really have that back then. That's what people were actually thinking, is that these things couldn't have existed so long ago. But as advanced as life is in itself, how could you think that? How are we even talking right now?
Right. In different locations, if it wasn't, how did this technology get here? Yeah.
So this one right here, it reminded me of something that I intended on looking up in my research, but you know, between working and having having a mind that's just a little too busy for my own good, sometime I forgot about it. But she said, the knowledge from the creators of us, we may call them ET. They came from motherships, etc., and created us in their image. So the term mothership is what stuck out to me, because in the early 1900s, I can't remember exactly what decade it was. It might have been in the 30s or something like that, or 40s. But Elijah Muhammad, so referred to as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, put out information describing this mothership that was responsible for bringing human life here to this planet, and that the human life that was brought here would have been quote unquote black people, melanated people. And the reason why I thought that was interesting is because during the time when Malcolm X was the front runner, the spokesman for that organization, out of all the things that they could have criticized Elijah Muhammad about and his spokesman, they never once mentioned any of his claims about extraterrestrials coming on a mothership to do this, that, and the other. I just think that's interesting. You tore him apart in every aspect except for this one, when that seemed like it would have just been easily believed by the public. So I just thought that was an interesting take there.
Right. And if you look at stuff like aliens, basically, or any of these, because basically you have to, light travel means you travel long distances at a super fast speed to because it would take, like, say it takes 300 years to go to this planet. Obviously, we're not going to be able to live long enough to make the trip. But if you were to place a bunch of embryos on a ship with the AI running the ship, knowing at this time when the ship reaches this point to activate these embryos, once they, then by the time they get to the ship, they'll be 12 years old or 15 years old. By the time they actually get to the destination, they will be of a mature enough age to set up shop, farm, do what they got to do, once they actually get to the planet. So it's not necessarily far-fetched when you think about it that this is what happened, because I'm telling you, we got here somehow. And to just say that it was just like the snap of a finger, that's real hard to believe right there.
And just like cryogenics, or if I'm saying it right,
yeah, that's part of it too.
Where they're freezing people, and that came from somewhere.
Well, they put you in cryo sleep. They're saying that light travel is possible if you're in cryo sleep, because basically what happens is your aging is slowed. So then in order to do the light travel and travel this many light years, you wouldn't age during the travel period.
Okay.
Well, it's just all a mystery, and I can't wait till it comes out, because I can't wait.
If it comes out, though, the world is in how we know it, though.
So,
because the only thing keeping us civilized is the fear of God and hell.
Okay, so I'm gonna go to this right quick. Then I'm gonna come back to what Lawan is talking about, because I think this is something that always comes out of the mouth from people that are proponents of the Bible. And to me, I think it's an audacious question, because you can't prove none of the shit you believe. So why should I be required to provide proof when you can't do it for what you stand on? We should have the same courtesy given to us. It's what makes sense to my mind and my heart, just like the Bible makes sense to your mind and your heart. You can't prove it neither, though. She said I'm gonna piss her off.
That's what she said.
Yeah. Well, I was slightly pissed off by your question.
We can't prove none of it. First of all,
roll up the questions.
Nobody has proof. The Bible don't got no proof either.
None.
Right.
None. You know, and it's really
just
that simple.
Again, I'm always.
But see, on the back end though, there is more proof leading to believe that some of this stuff actually occurred. Yeah, actually occurred, because you can't dispute archaeological facts. And
just
because they weren't a bunch of kindergartners with stone crayons just carving shit in the walls.
Right.
Just like
you'd have to minimize all those all those hieroglyphs down to something that minuscule for you to just write it off as a lack of evidence. Oh, those were just kindergartners with ancient crayons.
Just like Karmic Fusion said, right here.
I got it.
If you look at some of the carvings from ancient civilization, some of the beings had on what looks like watches, astronaut suits, and all.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, like he was just saying. So we're gonna say, them wasn't watches. Them was kids with crayons that just drew some bullshit on the motherfucker's wrist before we even knew some shit was supposed to be on the motherfucker's wrist.
Right. But this shit that was written on this paper, and it was written on papyrus, and then rewritten to where we don't even really know what was written to begin with.
Exactly.
We're going to hold that as the final authority. And
here's the thing. The bottom line is this. You cannot sit in a space of judgment for everybody's various different thoughts. That's just the bottom line. So everybody's entitled to believe what they want to believe. And that's the part that I have issues with, as far as different various religions always telling someone what they can't believe. You can't do this. You can't. And it's just, it doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense. Allow people to explore what suits them individually. You know, you can't say, oh, this is the way and the right way. I know that that's what scripture says. I know, but we're beyond that at this point. We want to
reconcile scripture to other shit.
Scripture has a cap on it though. Scripture only goes so far knowledge-wise.
So we were talking about motherships, and just to bring it back before we get too far, because these comments are starting to add up again. And Lawan had said something about Star Child Parliament dropped some shit, and then he threw this one up here. We all know that, but at the time, did we know what he was saying? Talking about the chariot swinging down and letting me ride, you know, and why Parliament always spoke about the mothership. It wasn't just some made up thing. Maybe because of their age and their placement in time, they were privy to some of the shit that was in those writings from Elijah Muhammad. You understand what I'm saying? And they just being musically inclined worked that into their lyrical content, but that they was really dropping gems in the process, you know? So it's a musical hieroglyph, I guess we could call it.
Well, it's important because back then we had more unification and we were in putting things together and getting it done. And now everybody's got their all this separatism and all this, and that's the problem right there.
So right now, if, like I was saying, if something happened in a great tsunami, a great flood, or some sort of great destruction took place on Earth, and the animals that we know of, that we have an elephant statue or a statue of this type of animal, if those are all that's left when civilization builds itself back, is that civilization going to look back and say, these are what they believe, these are the animals that they believed were around at the time, but there's no evidence that these animals actually existed?
They're still finding animals that they don't know about.
No, I get what he's saying though. Like the fact that you can't find something physically that matches the artistic rendering does not mean that it never physically existed.
Right.
If elephants and bears and all the shit that we had these sculptures and statues of and lions and all that were eradicated through some cataclysmic event, but the carvings of those animals still existed. The next generation may conclude that, oh, they made this shit up in their mind. This wasn't really.
We have stuff like totem poles with bears, eagles, fish, and killer whales and all that type of stuff on these totem poles. So those are some of that stuff is obviously going to be left over after the destruction. So the people who never seen these things are going to look at totem poles like that's just some hieroglyph on the wall, basically, like that. Oh, that shit never existed. Or you get what I'm saying? But here it is. It clearly existed.
So
you know, they're gonna more and more as the ice starts to melt and things will be exposed. We're gonna see a whole lot more stuff.
You talking about the alien base on Antarctica?
We never said
which really exists.
You ain't shit.
I know it does.
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and tap in on this. Look, ain't nobody said what you didn't say. When you pose things in a question, that question carries a connotation. It indicates a mindset. Well, why would you believe this if it hasn't been proven? And I just said it for what it is, that we can't prove nothing in that Bible neither. So if that's what we're looking at as proof and evidence, then we might as well all just go sit on our thumb. That's all I was getting at. You know, I'm gonna go ahead and throw.
I mean, I don't know. One of my things that I have to say on that too. We never said follow the truth or you ain't shit. Whose truth? That's to say, because there's only true or false, right? So it's true or false. So if you say you're following the truth, then that means that everything else is false.
It's perspective. My truth
exactly
is going to always look different than yours, and I'm okay with that. You know, yeah. And
that's
we
why
just
we're
want
all
you to be all right with it too, cuz. But I mean, if you know, bowing out is the better way for you, then I mean, again, that's your truth, and I can't take that from you.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And we enjoy comments. That's the reason why we do it on this open forum. I mean, there's several ways to have a podcast. We could have a podcast where there would be no interaction with anybody, but we chose to do it this way because we enjoy interactions.
Without a doubt. The world you live in is called the truth. Okay. That's cool. That's cool.
If I could pull up an ancient blueprint, a blueprint of Viamana, which is an ancient craft that actually flew and all that stuff, and basically before any airplane ever existed, if there's blueprints of this, why would I discredit these blueprints based on something that occurred thousands and thousands of years after it?
I had a whole thing of those.
You're gonna have to mute your mic.
I'm sorry, I am.
Yeah, no, I hear you on that. And I think that's the point I was trying to get at when I was making some of the references to that timeline that was there. You know, in order to take from basically 4500 BC and onward, we're pretty much excluding anything that took place prior to that. And I can't see the logic in doing that when there's, concrete evidence that some sort of being was here in place and building shit, and not just randomly building shit, but building shit that had a purpose, that functioned effectively and efficiently. Why would we exclude that when we're trying to investigate something? Yeah.
Those are the blueprints.
Yeah.
Ancient blueprints.
You should drop the link.
There were civilizations that existed that were very vast in technology, had running water up hills, on top of mountains, sewer systems, way back then. So, they had to know something.
And that's the thing, and we may never be able to uncover what the exact meaning is, but we have to keep an open mind to it. There was something else that was said in these comments. Let me see if I can go back and find it right quick, because I thought it was an interesting take.
And how do we know that they are not going into these black holes that they talk about, or these other galaxies? We don't know what they're doing, really. We only know what they're letting us know.
So this one talks about the mothership being within, and then she went on to say this right here: you have to activate your inner light. That's your problem ticket to the next life. Okay, so that kind of ties in with something that was said earlier, well, at least in my opinion, about the higher intellect or whatever, because I think that's something that is aligned with the process of ascension from a spiritual level, that I think that the Bible spells out to us through the life of Jesus and his 33 years of living, and go on and on, but I think that kind of aligns with that, the shit being within, and it's an internal and personal process. Let's see. He said, so the Great Flood didn't happen. I don't know. You tell me whether or not it happened. And if it did happen, when did it take place?
And are you getting that information from a book?
Right. Because that's what it was saying. It was said earlier that everybody gets their ideas from a book. So if the Great Flood did happen,
and I'm not saying it didn't. Let me be clear.
Okay.
I'm not saying it didn't. I'm just saying
right. Because again. I do think it took place, but not when the Bible says it did. That's all that's all I'm saying. There was a flood, but it would have made more sense that flood was the result of the end of an ice age that was in an era that was tens of thousands of years prior to the biblical timeline of it. So my question would be, when did it take place?
And if it was only 1 million people on Earth when the flood took place, it would be of greater magnitude to that 1 million people than the billions of people that are on the planet right now. To them, it would seem more catastrophic than it actually was.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's no different than people having, you have philosophers or people who supposedly can predict the future, and they have spoken of California falling into the San Andreas fault. We can't say that things that are going on with in the world and the things that we are doing to abuse the earth, we don't know what the next transition is or how it's going to go about. Things like this could actually happen. We don't know because we're not the ones who created it.
And I think that's an interesting way to look at it because, like you said, we don't know. So we compare that with the Great Flood or California falling into the ocean. Say that actually took place in the next 10 years.
Right.
That California broke off or whatever, and a portion of the state was underwater for the next eternity. And then 10,000 years from now, there's a book that said that California was cast into the ocean as a punishment from God.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? It
right.
could be that's how simple the Great Flood concept could be in the Bible. Just because it's written in there does not mean that that's what actually took place, or that it even took place when the Bible said it does.
It says
because it's being depicted by someone who is writing this down, and so it's going by from what they say, okay, or what that person who's writing it is saying. He could have exaggerated a little bit on a lot of things.
Okay, I gotta address this right here. So, the Grand Canyon is proof of the flood happening. Now, with that being said, I would have to firmly disagree with that. And the reason, but here's the reasoning for that though, because the flood took place, the rain itself took place for 40 days, and it took close to a year for the waters to subside. So if the Grand Canyon is and this is all scriptural, you can go back and reference what I'm saying. If you break down the timeline, it was close to a year that it took for the waters to completely subside. So if we're saying that the Grand Canyon is a result of the Great Flood that the Bible talks about, then that extreme, immense, jaw-dropping, awesome thing that we call the Grand Canyon was carved out in less than 12 months. I don't see that.
No.
Because
that took thousands of years to happen.
That's how we know it ain't got nothing to do with that Great Flood.
It's layers and layers and layers, and each layer is a different
time period.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Erosion doesn't happen overnight now. So
just like I said, the flood is coming again because the water is melting. The ice caps are melting, and that water's got to go somewhere.
Oh shit! Yeah, and that's why I said it would be it's more logical to conclude that it was the result of the end of an ice age and not some. It was going to take a lot longer than a year to carve out them canyons. That's all I'm saying. I don't care how much water it was.
It's all it all coincides together. If there is aliens, the changing of periods and different ages of Stone Age, Ice Age, whatever, all that coincides together. They all go together. We just don't know how it all goes together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you want to go ahead and unpack this for us, Deez? I think I know what this is, but
yeah, this is the Vimanas that I was talking about, which are considered mythological spacecrafts or whatever. Mm-hmm. But there's several different blueprints. This might not be as old as the other one I tried to show on my phone. But basically, it's the mathematic equations involved in this are sound, meaning that whoever, going back to the oldest blueprint found on this, the weights involved, all of the mathematical equations would create something that was able to fly. basically.
So it's not some slick bullshit equations that somebody just put on a piece of paper. It actually makes mathematical sense. Okay.
Yeah, these equations, the weights of the parts, it's very intrinsic. You know what I'm saying? It goes down to the weights of the parts, the actual materials that would have been used, and all of these things. And you have to think this is in a time where they didn't have metal machine shop. So how did they even? Why would they even be drawing up shit like this? That motherfucker wasn't
crazy.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Why would you
just
be
like
drawing up?
when you fly in an
I'm
airplane, and when you're in the sky and you're going that fast, but it doesn't seem like you're moving at all. Okay. As soon as you hit land, that speed hits you instantly. It hits the airplane instantly, and they got to put the brakes on. But when you're in the air, it looks like you're not moving at all, hardly. Okay.
Mhm.
So that has something to do with what Diesel just showed. The sound and the
shape, the weight, all of it plays a factor.
Magnets, and like I said
the
earlier,
materials
all
that it's made out of, all of that.
I'm gonna need you to send me the info on that, Deez, at least just the link, and then I can do some digging on my own because I ain't gonna sit here.
I put a link in the thing. It hasn't showed up though. I went to YouTube and dropped the link.
Yeah, and I was looking on here. It's saying on the side of mine, some destinations won't get comments. So I don't know what that's about over there.
I seen that too. I don't know what that is.
I said that earlier. Can't post comments on some destinations, and it said it's on a Facebook profile and something else.
Right. Well, because when I click it, it says Facebook groups, Facebook profiles. I don't know why LinkedIn is on here, but it's because it's part of our offer with StreamYard, I guess. I don't know. But back to the lecture at hand.
Yeah.
She said, "What finds its own level? Water finds its own level."
And that was in regards to the question that Benet had asked earlier: where did the water go from the Grand Canyon? And I think to me that's easily explained with just the natural water cycle.
It said springs, rivers, and underground or undertow or underflow, and all. I just looked that up with whoever had put that comment. I actually went and looked that up.
Yeah, that's what I mean. The natural process of the water cycle.
That's why you can still find underground rivers and underground streams, and they have found civilizations that are underwater right now.
That are in the center of the earth.
Yeah.
So I put
there's a good question up right now.
The Four Corners Facebook chat.
Okay, good looking. Do y'all think or do y'all believe that the earth is flat around?
Sometimes I think it's dome.
I think I'm in the middle on this. Yeah. But the one thing that that to me is of superior evidence in my mind is when we talk about the ancient maps that were made that have accurate topography of the land that they're looking at. Also with the Great Pyramid being supposedly being constructed to the average height of. So if you look at all the different peaks around the world, the different mountains and all this, that, and the other, that the Great Pyramid is supposed to sit at the mathematical average of all of the peaks on the topography of the world. So in order for that to even have been calculated, it said that there would have had to have been some sort of satellite that had an orbit around the entire, that had a, what would you call it? Like where it orbits the poles of the planet and able for them to be able to chart the different peaks and valleys in all of the land. That wouldn't be possible if you're talking about a flat plane Earth. So to me, I just thought that was a strong piece of evidence that that would lend to the idea of it being a ball or a sphere. Because flat, it would still be circular. It just wouldn't be a sphere, Yeah.
And furthermore, basically, they had maps of like you said, and Antarctica was actually dry at one point.
Mm-hmm.
They had
Mm-hmm.
they had maps of that, but it was dry in those maps.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it was extraterrestrials or somebody who put the deep freeze down over there. But now that it's thawing out, they're finding these massive bases and shit like that, and pyramids and shit like that over there.
Mm-hmm. I think
It's
it's central to the whole conversation we're having. Antarctica,
Right.
that is.
That's where
Yes.
that's where the biggest base is at.
and that's where the most sightings have been at also.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
In Antarctica?
In
Yeah.
like Alaska and up man, major sightings.
So what was I about to say? Oh, about the maps of Antarctica. So that's something that dates back to, well, individuals had access to these maps that existed prior to this timeline, but in like the 1400s, 1500s, people had maps of Antarctica that were mapped out and charted prior to it being covered with ice. So you know, who
And
was
they're trying
doing
to
that,
they're trying
and
to
how
get
did they
back to
have
that
the
right now.
technology to do it? You know, if we just came out of the grass and caves and gardens and we just, you know, lived like, you know, certain ways of reason and say that we lived, where did all this information come from, and the technology to be able to produce the information?
And
Okay,
how are these
I'm gonna
people
say something.
that are just flea bitten savages able to build pyramids aligned geographically and solar, where it's aligned with the actual solar system above? And these are people
Mm-hmm.
that supposedly had no idea of mathematics and no idea of geometry and these things that it would have took to create these pyramids to align with the actual star structures.
And they're
Mm-hmm.
perfectly aligned. But okay, you take all of these movies that they show that depict all this different stuff, Black Panther, for instance, and the things that they could do, each civilization could do, the different things that each civilization could do. It's got to be some fact to some of that. Where did they come up with that? Okay, so it's got to be some fact to that, which I don't know. Blacks are the best race, or is the dominant race. Okay, so
We would have to say were at this point.
Yeah, well,
Right,
yeah, well,
right. And I don't even know if we can even use that term. The original is probably the more fitting.
yeah, the original race. Okay, yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Even though they try to erase that out now, you know, and say that we were not, but
I mean, it really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things because we are what we are now.
Right. I agree with that.
And I hate to jump in. You guys are having a good discussion. It's going well, but I'm going to have to tap out in just a moment so you guys can further the conversation. But we have somewhere that we have to be at 6. So you guys know I'm a little bit ahead of time for you guys. And we have some plans for today. So
it's all good. I know the little lady turning 13 and stuff. So
right.
Yeah.
So if I just hit leave studio, I'm gone, right? It's not gonna stop the show, right?
Yeah, you don't hit end broadcast. You
I
mean, you could technically just remove yourself from the stream as well, you know. So
leave studio, right? Remove
or
myself.
you could remove yourself from the stream. Yeah, like hover over your picture and where it says remove. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I got this up here for a reason, because I wanted to. I'm trying to hook this up real quick where I can just put it on the screen. But nonetheless, I wanted to address this ideology about the firmament, and one of the reasons why I think, even though it's worthy of some level of attention, that I think it's derived from something else that has been copied into what we would call modern religion or whatever.
The vast
So,
solid dome created by God.
mhm.
The world is not flat. It can't be flat.
You know, I'm like I said, I'm in the middle on that because sometimes I'll be like, okay,
I'm in the middle on that too.
if it's a sphere, then how come? So when an airplane is flying, is it constantly going like this?
Right.
You
That's
know,
that's the most confusing part. That's the most confusing part right there. Is if you
Yeah.
shoot something up, like
But-
how does it maintain that altitude all the way around? Like,
But we don't know
because
that
they're saying
how
that China is underneath us basically if it's round, if it's a sphere.
Right.
So
well
we,
just well it has to be something like that for you to be able to go to the Philippines from Hawaii, or instead of or to or Australia from California that way, than going all the way across the other way.
So when we look at the idea of the firmament, um, it's an ideology that was borrowed from this concept here that was a part of ancient Egypt or Kemet, however you want to talk about it. You know, with the what is it? I think it's Jeb, Nut and Jeb or whatever. I don't know how you pronounce it, but nonetheless, that this figure is covering over the earth, which would create that figurative or conceptual firmament that the Bible talks about. And again, because I have said before that I really strongly think that the Bible is something that was a plagiarized piece of work, and it borrowed from long since existing spiritual texts that existed in previous civilizations. And that I think that this is where the biblical firmament idea comes from. I do not think that that's something that was founded on any sort of cemented truth. It was just borrowed information.
right.
And that's just my opinion, but that's what I think. Yeah.
And maybe that's why you can only go so far in space right now, is because there's some sort of a force field blocking the actual outside travel. Maybe it's not light travel, maybe it's traveling through the dome
Yeah.
or the firmament or whatever they call it.
So
Okay, they say
we see you here with it. Hold on real quick. We see you here with this Q. We like links and shit so that we and also the people who are watching
they say that
can look that information up. So if you got a link on that, drop that in the chat, please. Go ahead,
it
Sarah.
says that Mesopotamia was the oldest civilization, early before ancient Egypt. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so the Bible was Mesopotamia.
No, Mesopotamia is a term that is used in later times, such as the biblical times, to describe what was known as Sumer, ancient Sumer. So when you start talking about the Bible describes them as the Sumerians, Sumer, that's all what they refer to as ancient Mesopotamia. But supposedly, and I say supposedly because I'm not a scholar on this. I'm just a nigga who be doing some reading. But supposedly, the concepts, the spiritual concepts that are a part of ancient Egypt's way of their religious system, for lack of a better term, was something that was taken from the religious system of ancient Sumer or Mesopotamia. And again, when we talk about ancient Sumer, that image that's sitting right there behind Diesel comes directly from that era of people. So the cuneiform text was supposedly the first the first writing system that was put into place. So when you think of the Rosetta Stone, it comes from that region. And that's the reason why you have the little language app called Rosetta Stone, because it's basically paying homage to the supposed first written first form or writing system that existed in human history.
Yeah, it says in 3200 BCE, the Sumerian cuneiform writing system and the Egyptian hieroglyphs are first used.
I think you got to be again. That's like rabbit hole shit because it was longer ago than that. It depends on it depends on the intention of whoever's putting out that article. If their
Right,
intention
I
is
agree.
for it to coincide with what the Bible says, they're going to lie about the time frame because
Right.
we kind of already looked at there was shit popping long before what they're saying. You know,
Yeah, because it's that's why you can't believe nothing that they say. That's just all that is. The person in control is the one who wants you to who wants you to believe certain things, and so that's what they're going to put out for us to believe. But we really don't know because we weren't there.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, and that's to be said about a lot of things, but I think we taking the right approach by at least having an open mind on the subject because when you close your mind out to shit, then you basically have closed out any opportunity to learn, to continue to learn. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Dubai is crazy.
He's sick, man. Oh shit. Aruhu, how you say his name? Ahuru Mazda?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just, you know how you get like a sense of something when you hear it and it's like an awakening to you, you know what I'm saying? Like, you just know that these motherfuckers was fighting these wars on this planet, man.
Mm-hmm.
The only way to, like, all this soot and these layers of soot that they got on, like, this shit has been burnt down to the ground so many countless times you wouldn't believe.
Mm-hmm.
And it's gonna burn again.
Yeah.
And
man.
that further explains why so many species have been wiped out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's so much to consider that it's who's to say what's accurate and what's not, but it is about having a sense of, you sometimes you just get the sense that this is what is practical. It's more practical and logical to conclude this, even though this over here might be more popularly accepted. It hasn't withstood the scrutiny of investigation. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So he says, this is kind of interesting to me because I know that the world is spinning at 186,000 miles per second or some shit like that. So he's saying if the world was round and spinning and hovering, a hovering helicopter that is no longer bound to the ground, why doesn't it end up in a different location? I guess because it holds itself in place would be my answer, but
I think if you just understand that if something is spinning, then any of the contents inside of that something is also spinning along with it. So that helicopter, when
gravitational pull,
when that helicopter raises into the air, that air is also in motion because it is contained in the planet. So because I looked into this before some years ago, because I was like, damn, that's kind of deep. But then it was just easily contested with simple logic. Like I said, where you get the sense of like, how could you have an object that's spinning and then expect the objects inside of that object to be standing still?
Right.
It's perceived to be still, but it's in motion as well because it's inside of an object that's in motion. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we right at about 2.5 hours. I think we did a great job of covering the information. Unless y'all got some more that you want to add, I think we can start bringing it to a close. You know. Absolute silence. I guess that means we good.
I thought I'm sorry, I had my mute off. I didn't know I had my mute off. If it's a subject matter that someone in our comments that wants to talk about, just shoot us the shot, and then we'll consider it. We're always open to suggestions also.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I was wondering why you guys wasn't commenting on what I was saying, because my mute was off.
I don't understand what this means. Our bodies are naturally sensitive to movement. Maybe we could have that conversation offline, because I would need you to expound on that. I'm not even sure where that's going to.
Tell them to come into the link and we'll continue the conversation offline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I mean, you know how to get at us. You can get at us in Messenger, because we about to go ahead and close this one out. But we appreciate everybody for tapping in and for jumping in the comments and just supporting the grind as it is.
Yes, thank you very much.
And everybody also to anybody who was listening in or chiming in today, I wouldn't say that my beliefs are any more factual than anybody else's. I just tend to lead towards science and actual tangible evidence more so than physiological evidence.
No, I hear you on that. I'm because I feel like sometimes it can come off as if what I'm saying is the end all be all. It is just for me. That don't mean it is for nobody else. You know,
everybody has their right to their own opinion.
Yeah. I'm not ever trying to rob nobody else of their own individuality at all. And I don't want nobody to try to rob me of mine.
It's just like the rap game. All these rappers rap their own style, their own way.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying? But does that mean they're not making rap music? Of course they're making rap music. They're just making music from their perspective or from their beliefs or their view. You know what I'm saying? So everybody's view is valid. And everybody
if everybody was supposed to think the same thing, we would all look the same.
We wouldn't have nothing special, I tell you that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's why each and every one of us is different.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and close it out, y'all, at same place, same time next week. We appreciate y'all.
All right.